right, guys, welcome back to Downtown Rams. As always, I'm your host, Alexis Kraft, joined here with my co host, Jake Ellenbogen. And guys, we have a very special guest joining us today. Joining us is actor and comedian Taran Killam. You might know him from Saturday Night Live or TV shows such as Angie Tribeca or How I Met Your Mother, amongst many others. But what you might not know is that Taran Killam is a diehard Rams fan, which is why he is joining the show with us today. Thank you so much for coming. We're so excited to talk to you about the Rams, especially after a win.
Totally. No, I thank you for having me. I've been riding high. I'm glad that we're recording this on a Wednesday because I think my voice has just returned as of this morning.
I know the feeling there.
Yeah, I was telling you before the show, and people who listen to the podcast know because I actually had to miss like our preview episode because I was in the flight. So Jake had a guest on and they did it, that I got to the game like 24 hours beforehand. I got to LA, didn't know I was going. Long story, but got there, screaming the whole game, lost my voice as well. And I'm just so happy we won. I mean, you were there, right? I mean, it was such an amazing experience.
Yeah. No, I've been a season ticket holder since they got back to LA. So obviously this season has just been exceptional just for getting to be in the new stadium in SoFi with fans. But to have such a winning championship season is incredible. And Sunday, Alexis, you know this just as well as I, was really loud. And it was really exciting because I was there week 18 too against San Fran. And it certainly was like a disheartening amount of red. And it was by no means significantly less, but it definitely was less this past Sunday. I would say it was much closer to 50-50 than sort of the rough, 60-40, probably 65-35 that it was week 18. But both sides, the whole game, it was just loud and intense and fun. And it was kind of cool to have that come from behind feeling there, I mean, I'm sure you both agree. I would have preferred to have been dominant from the coin toss on, but yeah, no, it was such a great game. So fun.
It's exactly how you would have wanted it. As long as you knew the result, I was totally fine. Like, this team can score 30. This team could score 40 if they wanted to, but I thought the same thing about the divisional round. When you look at that Buccaneers game, Tom Brady has like ruined this team. I mean, he's the reason they don't have 2 Super Bowls or more. Maybe we're talking about the Rams dynasty instead of the Patriots dynasty. So to be able to retire him, and I understand some people aren't looking at it that way, but that's how I'm going to look at it, in the way that they did, the way Stafford has been, no matter what he does, the goalpost gets moved. And it's like, to see him be able to throw that pass to Cooper Kupp, who should have been MVP this year, he'll probably go to Rodgers or he'll go to Brady. But it was just the icing on the cake. But then this game, after hearing all the talk all week from whether it was a former 49er player, harassing Andrew Whitworth's wife, or it was Deebo Samuel, talking smack or whatever, which I understand is part of the game. But they ran their mouth more than I've ever seen a team run their mouth, only to fall just short of making the Super Bowl. It was perfect.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, speaking to like retiring Brady, Jalen Ramsey just put out today like a clip of, he said, "Oh man, he scored his last touchdown on me." I'm not sure how I feel about that. I'm paraphrasing, but pretty hilarious. And yeah, I just came into it going like, I felt like math was on our side, like just law of averages. We were not going to go 7 and out. And quite honestly, this truly has been like a theme for me with this team since McVay took over, is that McVay, truly, there is no greater motivator for McVay than revenge. Like spite or revenge, like I'll show you, seems to be like the spinach to his Popeye, because I think that not only was everybody, all the smack talk that you referenced and just the record of 6-0, but they took from him, in my opinion, his most impressive stat, that he had never lost a game when he was ahead at halftime. And Shanahan took that stat away from him. And I think like if there was any sort of like, superstitious X factor, it was that McVay was going to get revenge for ruining his perfect streak.
For sure. I mean, I think that, just in general, the Rams and the 49ers have such a rivalry, as with, most teams in the NFC West. But then, of course, there's always comparisons between Sean McVay and Kyle Shanahan, which I'm sure they're both aware of. Everyone's aware that, we were 0-6 for a while against the 49ers. So, yeah, I mean, that's definitely something. I know that Sean McVay, he might have been playing it cool, like in the press conferences, but inside, like you said, I know that he was determined to get his revenge. And you guys talk about like the 49ers, and I mentioned I was at the game. So I had a single ticket. So my friend got me a ticket, but it wasn't like with my friends. So I was sitting just somewhere in the stadium, just by myself to watch the game. And I was just praying. I said, please do not let my section be 49ers fans, because it's me against everyone else. But thankfully it wasn't. But there were some 49ers fans, and there was smack talk the whole game. And at the end of the game, winning in the fashion that we did, I was telling Jake, I almost missed the interception because everyone stood up in front of me. And so and they were all taller than me. And I'm not that I'm 5'4", and there was like these 6-foot guys in front of me. And I was like trying to see, and I saw it, and I just started weeping in the game. And I was so excited that we won. And it was like, it made it all the much sweeter that all the 49ers fans just were exiting. And so I was like crying, watching the Rams win. I was seeing the 49ers fans walk away, and I was like, this just feels so poetic. Like, what a way to win the game. Obviously would love to have dominated the entire game, but sometimes it's sweeter winning in those big moments at the end of the game.
Yeah, well, keeping the emotion running high for sure. I was right there with you. Like I brought my wife with me, and she came to the Chargers preseason. I just said, like, these tickets are an investment that whether we both like it or not, that is, a significant investment, but I think it's worthwhile. And I just want you to experience it and see it. But this game, at a preseason game, I'm not jumping up and down and screaming as much as this game. And yeah, when that last interception, when we got the ball back, I was right there with you, just head in hands. But when you said miss the interception, I thought you were talking about Tart's almost interception, which I did miss. Like I crumbled to the floor when I saw it hit his hands, and I fell down, and my wife had to tap me on the shoulder, being like, he dropped it. It's okay. He dropped it. So I missed that whole thing because I just, you don't have to dig deep in my Twitter feed to know that, like, I've been a little cynical towards the Stafford trade. Just in that, I think where that comes from, I think my stubbornness in it comes from really enjoying so much of what Jared Goff did for this team. You know what I mean? And drafting him number 1. And like I feel like his career, to this point at least, fared much better than Carson Wentz, who was the other possible, number 1 pick. And he, I was there for the Monday night game where they had to reschedule for Mexico City against the Chiefs. That's like still the 3rd or 4th highest scoring game in NFL history, which was like, yeah, I still think the best game I've ever witnessed live. And Jared was responsible for that. And he, and very much a part of getting our team to their first Super Bowl in nearly 20 years. So there was so much good he did, that the fact that he became this casualty and the narrative was suddenly like, oh, finally we got the talent, I felt was like unfair. I just felt that was really unfair and slightly disrespectful. So I've had my arms crossed about Stafford, but it is now, he's definitely like, made me eat my humble pie because he has stepped up in such a big way. He's played like a champion. He has. It's just undeniable. But there was a flash of interception Stafford with that throw to Tart, where like the wind was just knocked out of me. I mean, I literally crumbled to the point that I didn't see the drop. Yeah, but I'm glad it worked out that way.
Yeah, well, you're not alone in the cynicism about the Stafford trade, and Jake knows this as well, because the day that news broke, Jake has a YouTube show that he does, and I called into that show when the the trade happened, and I was very cynical about it as well, because I wasn't sure quite how to process it. I kind of felt what you were saying a little bit, but it was also more. I'm a very big NFL draft fan, and so I heard that we were giving up. All I heard was we were giving up all these picks for Matthew Stafford, which at the time I was kind of like, I don't think that he's like, this would be like if we were trading for like a Rodgers or a Wilson, which will never happen, but just throwing a name out there. But in my mind, I was like, I just don't get it. And Jake, you can attest this. I was like on the show and people were like telling me I was wrong. Like, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. I was like, I don't think I'm wrong. And I feel like I have been proven wrong. I mean, he has, beaten, my expectations, and I know a lot of other people's expectations as well. And he seems to be kind of the quarterback that McVay, the style of play he wanted. And I think that, Jared Goff just wasn't. I think for his personal preference. And I do cheer for Jared Goff in Detroit as well. But I know that Jake does too. I hope that he can be part of a rebuild there that goes well.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I personally don't necessarily share your affinity for draft picks. I just think that, in this conversation alone, talking about Brady and talking about the deserving MVP Cooper Kupp, like neither of these are first round or even first 2-round draft picks, so there's talent throughout. And unfortunately, there's also just, with any skill game or industry, a little bit of circumstance, you know what I mean? Like it's crazy to me. Cooper Kupp's season is crazy to me. What makes it crazier that isn't talked about is that he came back from ACL surgery, like that he came back from a surgery that normally is diminishing returns. You know what I mean? Like you can get back to it, but he came back and somehow the Bionic Man, like $6 million Bionic Man, came back and was faster, better, stronger. Like it's crazy what he's accomplished. And it's every time. I mean, I've been at every home game this season, and every time he's catching passes for 15, 20, 40 yards, you're just like, there should be 3 guys on him. But it really is about his skill. It really is about his route running and the way that he's able to separate like that. It's just like, I've started like every snap just kind of eyes on him to see how he does it, to see where he's zigging and zagging and where he's pushing off and where he's stopping or cutting in. And he's just, I do hope that he gets MVP, just because it is record breaking. And again, this has been such a season of stories, like even just the superficial stuff, like a team playing in their home stadium and also getting to win their conference championship in this home stadium, in the brand new stadium, in the greatest stadium in the world, in the first season that they've been able to have fans there cheering them on. Like, it's just such a fun, like if it was a movie, you'd almost say like, nah, this isn't that believable.
No, I agree with you. And I think, a thing that you brought up, with Cooper Kupp's injury, coming back, kind of retraining himself how to run. And then, I mean, ironically enough, he had 200 yards against the Bengals overseas in that London game, in the first half. And then like Sean McVay is like, all right, let's cool it there. He was on, You're on pace to break a record, and we're not the flashy team that does that. But, it's a testament to what they have. And this is why they're allowed to trade these picks, because I mean, you have a 7th round pick in Nick Scott that everyone thought when he was drafted, a guy that didn't play a ton at Penn State, he was a special teamer. And now here he is. He has a pivotal role. You have Kendall Blanton, who, Alexis has been all over since she's from St. Louis and he went to Mizzou. And the only reason we didn't know who Kendall Blanton was, I mean, we did, but, most people out there, is because he was behind Albert O, who is in Denver and, a big name, and people, he killed it in college, but he was behind him. And, you look at the 34 draft picks the Rams have, which leads the league in the NFL right now. And it's a testament to, the coaching staff in developing those guys. Wes Phillips has done an incredible job at the tight ends room, and, you have Ejiro Evero in the secondary, what he's done with those guys. But on top of it, just Reggie Scott, his training staff is just, second to none. I mean, the fact that Cam Akers came back, 6 months after he tears his Achilles, and Cooper Kupp, it's just that's really what it is. It's a collective unit. That's why I laugh when people are trying to say this is a stacked team and, this team is just all stars, when in reality, no. I mean, they have some huge waiver claims that they made. Justin Hollins, for instance, Darius Williams. I mean, legitimate starters that they've gotten out of UDFA, undrafted rookie free agency and waivers. So this is exactly how a team should be built.
I mean, I want to ask you guys, I tweeted about this too, but I feel like Williams' lifespan on this team is not long.
I agree.
Unfortunately,
Sadly.
you know what I mean? A talented enough player, but it's just become a very clear narrative that teams are singling him out as a weak spot. Like they are finding him. And it really started, I think, with the first Arizona game with AJ Green. They had they had Williams against AJ, and just like he could not keep up. And some of their biggest plays was because of that matchup. And I just, I feel bad for him. He's sort of like, for me, become a little bit of a Charlie Brown, where it's just not going to work out good for you, dude, because, not for lack of effort but I just feel like, I hope they all get a Super Bowl ring so that he can say he has that. But for me, that's the first position I'm looking at next year in drafting and at training camp.
I think that the corner position is probably one of the thinner on the team right now. And that's kind of ironic because I know we have a lot of injuries kind of in the safety position, but I actually feel like safety is a position that we have guys now like Nick Scott and Terrell Burgess, and we got Weddle back. I don't know if he continues to play next season, but at least for this season, that we have such like a strong safety room that I'd like to see us bulk up, at corner, so we can have kind of that dominant secondary that we've had in the past. And it kind of I was very critical of David Long at first, and I feel like he has. I know that I feel like he's kind of come into his own, but I still would like to see some corner and also offensive line. I have to point that out there because I have a very big affinity for offensive linemen. Like I just love the offensive line. I think it's the most important position in football. And I'm always like, Jake knows because he was with me. We did a big draft stream in New York this year. And every pick, I was like, when are we going to take an offensive lineman? When are we going to take an offensive lineman? And we didn't take any. And now with Andrew Whitworth, I would be very surprised if he didn't retire, especially if we win. Totally. That seems, talk about storybook endings, playing his old team in the Super Bowl, winning a ring.
It's nonsense.
I'd be very shocked. So we'll see. But
my seats are directly behind the offensive line bench. Like I literally see them come off, and Whitworth he sits all the way on the end, and he's like the first one of the back, and he sits there like on his throne. It was week 18, and it was one of the big long bomb interceptions where 49ers got it. Stafford just threw it up and the 49ers picked it. And I saw Whitworth come to the sideline, pull off his helmet and say to the offensive linesman coach, like, I fucking told you. And it was like some real heat, because he's always pretty stoic. He's such a great mentor from what I've observed as a fan and from the outside. But to see that kind of passion, that sort of rage was like really great. It was fun. Note Boom's great. I agree. Like we could use some depth, but Brian Allen is just freaking stepped up, and he keeps getting banged up. Like he had some serious, it seems like thigh or knee issues that he's really been fighting through and recuperating from. But he stepped up, and I like Havenstein a lot. Note Boom has freaking been great to step in, but I agree. Like, if Whitworth's gone and Note Boom's first string, then we need to look at some backups there for sure. With the corner position, it's so interesting, corner and safety, because like Ramsey is like none of those, but both of those. But so I'm sure that creates some confusion. Like there was the heated exchange between him and Rapp, and I really like Rapp. I think he's such a great player. But it's tricky, like people sometimes are a little down on Reeder, but I think Troy Reeder's actually had a phenomenal season. You know what I mean? Like he's had like the biggest criticism I could say is that there's some slip tackles, you know what I mean? Like he's not great at wrapping his arms around in the chaos, but he's always there. That's the thing. Like he's always getting to the ball. And I think he's had a really great, so, I think this is such a great team. I think I feel very, very confident about 2 Sundays from now. Because I just feel like everybody, because I feel like on the 13th is when our name star talent is when Aaron Donald and Andrew Whitworth and Von Miller and even Weddle, all these star and Stafford, maybe first and foremost, are like, I'm going to leave everything on this field. There is no tomorrow. We're playing for all of it, here at home. I just think I feel good. I feel real good about it.
Yeah. I mean, I feel really good about that. I feel really good about the future too. I feel like this is a team that's constantly just dubbed as, oh, they're all in, or, oh, do or die. How so? I mean, I looked at this roster over and over again, and, getting Jared Goff and Brandon Cooks and Todd Gurley, all of those contracts off the books, as well as Michael Brockers, they're all off the books next year, and people aren't accounting for $40 million in cap space they'll have. I mean, I think OBJ's back. I think there's a potential Vaughn is back. And I think at corner, they may not even draft anybody. They might just be like, you know what, JC Jackson, we see what you're doing over in New England. Or, they look at a Stephon Gilmore or somebody like that, and they're like, you want to come aboard? Because here's the thing. This is how dynasties start, because you win a Super Bowl and then you can start really, putting together a team already, like, having your benchmark guys, but then other people want to join you. I mean, that's what happened. Sue wanted to join the team. They go to the Super Bowl in 2018. You have Aqib Talib that year, Marcus Peters. Now you have Jalen Ramsey. OBJ signed with this team. So the Rams didn't even trade for him. He went out of his way to sign there. I just feel like, and everyone's so quick to be like, well, having OBJ, doesn't that mean that Robert Woods or Van Jefferson are gone? Not exactly. And to be honest with you, if you have all 4 of those, I mean, why worry about trying to trade one to get like a second round or a third round pick, when in reality, you're doing well regardless of the picks, and you have all this talent everywhere. Matthew Stafford at quarterback, things are going to be a lot better next year also because of the running game this year. There was so much uncertainty. You had Henderson coming in the season with a hand injury. They trade for Sony Michel, which is uncertainty there because he's shown at times, finished last season a 5.7 yards per carry average. But, he's dealing with the same knee and shoe that Todd Gurley dealt with, whether people realize it or not. And then you have Cam Akers getting that, unfortunate, scary, out of nowhere injury that gets reported by TMZ before anyone else. Just bizarre. So, you deal with all of that. And, what Matthew Stafford was able to do, it really puts it into perspective, being the 24th team in rushing. They were top 10 last year. So I feel like this is just the start of something. They just need to make sure they finish it and win. But if they do, I mean, we've seen the Super Bowl's designed for the winner to be immortalized and the loser to die. And so, it's not to say that the Bengals are done if they lose. It's not to say the Rams are done. But we saw the Rams had a little bit of a spell after they lost to the Patriots. I mean, they had to really work their way back up.
Yeah, I think, just as a Southern California native, as like a Los Angelian, and that being such a big part of my passion for the team, loving football, but being from here and always wanting to have a team of our own. And, for 22 years out of my life, we had nothing. I do just want to say, like, I think our city is a big part of why people want to come. I think for OBJ specifically, you know what I mean? He sees the talent. He sees definitely like McVay's coaching, but he also knows that there's going to be off-season development meetings and game shows. He can, you know what I mean? Like he's flashy in that way. and he's got the charisma for it too. So he can kind of build his own personal industry out here. And I think that's just a draw with the brand new stadium and with, a burgeoning fandom, as you two are very heavily responsible for. The Ramley is growing very quickly and very passionately, I feel, and I'm very, very proud to be a part of it.
Me too. I mean, I when I went to the game this weekend, I stopped by the Rams Empire tailgate in Pink Lot just to let everyone know for next season it's the best. And there were so many Rams fans and a lot of people I knew just from Twitter. I'd never met them, but we'd interacted a lot on Twitter, so it was so awesome to get to meet them. And I ran into a lot of people that listened to the podcast, and it was so nice to meet them. And there was just all this like love and support. And of course there were some 49ers fans talking trash next to the tailgate and all that, but it added to the environment. But yeah, there's just such a growing love, I think, for the Rams and the Rams community. And it certainly doesn't hurt that the team is doing well. It's always a factor in growing a fan base, and it's just been awesome to see. And like you said, I was going to ask you, cause I knew that you're native of Southern California, so that's how you became a Rams fan. Was your whole family Rams fans, or was it?
No, I mean, like the dirty little secret is probably we were more Raiders in my youth, in my childhood, that sort of era of Marcus Allen, Bo Jackson, Howie Long, Ronnie Lott, and like those were the Coliseum games. A portion of my family traveled with the Rams to Anaheim, like would go down once they stopped playing in the Coliseum, went down to Anaheim. So we went there a fair amount of time. But this was more about, my identity and my belonging to a team, my ownership, and also sort of getting in on the ground up. There was a long time where it was going to maybe be Jacksonville, where Jacksonville was maybe going to come out here. And for me, the opportunity to kind of dig in from the ground up, even though they're both established franchises that have been in the league, new city, new home, new building, that's kind of a once in a lifetime thing, especially with the league as big as it is now. Maybe 4 or 5 years from now, we'll get some USFL teams folded into the franchise, folded into the league. I mean, but it's not going to be expanding that much. And so I knew that that was an exciting opportunity, and it was that much more exciting that it was a team who had a Los Angeles identity already and had that sort of built-in community. And my hope is that we can kind of like slowly lure back some St. Louis people too, even though I know there's hurt feelings, but hopefully $73 million can buy a lot of Band-Aids,
Yeah, well, I'm from St. Louis. That's how I became a fan. Family had season tickets during the Greatest Show on Turf era.
Cool.
Sadly, that did not last very long. There was a lot of years of suffering that I had to endure as a young child, but I think it builds character to have. I had some success. The St. Louis Cardinals, were really good for a while. The Blues kind of went up and down. Recently, they've been good, but the Rams were kind of that one team that was just grueling for so many years to just stand by, and it was heartbreaking when they left, but I had to stay with the team because I was such a huge fan. I couldn't quit them. And then now they've just started to get good the past couple of seasons. It's been so awesome to watch. And I just that this was my first game at SoFi this weekend. I had not been in the new stadium yet because COVID last season, and then the scheduling this season, I hadn't been able to get out there. So that was part of the reason, when they said, you want to go to the game, I was like, NFC Championship, see SoFi, visit LA. Yeah, I think I'll go.
Yeah,
so,
it's a good one.
So yeah, very exciting, to see them. And Super Bowl, gotta ask you going? Do you know yet?
I will definitely be there. Where and for how much right now is I've got irons and fires of trying to, what do you sacrifice? Do you get four in the nosebleed and have more of a community there? Do you get 2 with better access? Like a big determining factor for me is this halftime show. I just think it's going to be one of the best in Super Bowl history. the music that I grew up being obsessed with. So, Dr. Dre and Eminem being from Detroit, Stafford being out here. There's just like so many great narrative parallels too. But Mary J and Kendrick and Snoop, it's just going to be insane. So, but yeah, no matter what, I'll be there. There's no way that I couldn't be there in some shape or form. How about you guys? Are you gonna do it? Or are you gonna?
I don't think so.
Yeah,
but I'm pretty confident. I don't think this is going to be the last time that they play in the Super Bowl. So
sure.
Yeah, I'd love to. I just like literally, I don't know that there's a way that I can make it happen.
Yeah,
of course.
I've kind of debated the idea, like, do I want to like go out there and try to hang with people like in Super Bowl party, just being in the city? I haven't decided. Probably not, because I was just there. And they're not doing the typical tailgate experience because they have the Super Bowl experience. So they're not going to have those like specific Rams tailgates and whatnot. But I will be watching the game very intently, and I'm, if we win, I'm sure I'll cry again, like I did.
I'll be right there with you. Yeah, I can't wait. It's ours. We've got everything is on our side.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. It's funny. The last time the Rams were in the Super Bowl, ironically, I got a call from this guy that I have never, I didn't understand the number or anything. And I was just at the Senior Bowl. So it felt weird flying home from the Senior Bowl, going to Atlanta to connect, to go to New York when everybody was going to Atlanta for the Super Bowl. So I felt like a traitor in a sense, not being there, and I'm talking to, a couple of guys from NFL Network. Charles Davis, like, really? You're not going to the Super Bowl? I'm like, oh, I can't afford it. Like I have a job, all of that. Like I have to go back. Like I don't have enough time. And it's just so funny because I had my job I was going to, and call center work, and I get a call from a number in Atlanta, and I was like, what is this? And the guy's like, yeah, so I'm the representative for Anthony Munoz. And he would love to go on your show and talk about the Built Ford Tough Offensive Line of the Year award. And I realized it now, it was because the Rams were going to win it, but they hadn't announced it yet. But it was just crazy that they're playing the Bengals. The Bengals legend Anthony Munoz reaches out to me and wants to come on my show. That was one of those moments where I was like, I can't be doing this much longer. And I really, it really hit me, Taran, when Alexis knows this story. I'm working that same call center job from home, and I absolutely hated it. And I had to take a long lunch just so we could interview Kurt Warner. And then I had to get off the phone with Kurt Warner and get yelled at about window shades. True story. That's how I know I couldn't do it anymore.
Life is all about balance.
Yeah. But we got to interview Kurt Warner, which was awesome.
Yeah, that's rad.
So it was worth getting yelled at, right, Jake?
Sure.
Yeah.
Was it Kurt that yelled at you? Did Kurt also happen to order window blinds?
No, unfortunately not. I got some cool ones. Like I think someone got, window shades for Aaron Rodgers or something. And I was like, okay, that's kind of cool. But I didn't get to talk to Aaron Rodgers. It was just his, whatever. So no, it was brutal, but we're not there anymore. We're talking about the Rams going to the Super Bowl, talking with Gary Blauman here, as my brother would call you.
The best role I've ever had.
Love to hear it. Speaking of which, I mean, you've been in so many different shows, and I've watched a bunch of them. I mean, you were in New Girl, you were in Drake and Josh. I do remember you were in Drake and Josh, the Dune Buggy episode. Don't think I didn't remember that. Yeah.
OG.
Yeah. So what are you up to now, man? What are some new, anything new coming out?
So I just finished American Crime Story Impeachment, about the Clinton impeachment, and I was playing Paula Jones's husband in that. And I'm going to be directing a film this summer. It'll be my second directorial effort. And then there's a show I just sold with a friend of mine to go into development. So it's all, my day-to-day right now is a lot of sort of the behind the scenes writing of stuff. But I'll be doing possibly 2 films, one acting, one directing this summer. but have cleared the schedule for everything before February 13th.
As you should. It
Yeah.
only comes around once a year. And again, thank you so much for joining us. You are welcome
Of
back
course.
anytime. Talk about the Rams.
Awesome. Thank you.
Or anything for that matter. I mean, like
Sure,
if you want to talk
great.
about Gary Blauman for 40 minutes, I'm here for it. If you want to talk about your role as Trevor, I'm here for it. Like
Steak sauce. Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah. And you know, I mentioned you, I'm a huge SNL fan as well. So I very much
She's the
appreciate it.
biggest.
Biggest
Cool.
SNL fan. And I'm actually seeing Tina Fey and Amy Poehler in Los Angeles in May as part of
amazing.
they're doing it's Tina and Amy in conversation for the Netflix is a Joke film comedy festival.
Amazing.
So I'm taking my brother. Yeah, we're gonna go. So I'm really excited.
Oh, that'll
about
be
that.
so fun.
Yeah, it'll be so fun.
They're the
thank
best.
you again.
Thank you for having me, you guys. Thank you for your commitment to all things Rams.
Absolutely. We'll have to obviously stay in touch, and we'll be reaching out to you again, have you on again.
I'm already making plans to make it to the Empire tailgate pink lot. Got to do that next season for
Rams
sure.
Empire
Awesome.
tailgate. It's the best.
Well, thank you guys. Go Rams.
Go Rams.